Hi, I'm Randy Butcher, professional stunt performer.
You know, I'm asked almost on a daily basis if some of the tricks we stuntmen use in movies and television can be used in action home videos. Well, I'm here to show you that some of them can be. As with any other physical activity, a good warm-up is essential to prevent those nagging little injuries that sometimes crop up when cold muscles and joints are called into action without sufficient warning. Actors and singers warm up their voices, the tools of their trade, so a good stunt performer will warm up as well.
I like to start at the top and go down. A few light neck circles, keeping your eyes open and not forgetting to breathe, will warm up all the muscles and joints in this area for taking punches. Rehearsal after rehearsal and shooting take after take really do begin to take their toll. So warming up the neck is very important. From there, I like to go down and warm up the muscles and joints of my shoulders and upper back. A few light shoulder rotations will usually do the trick. You know, getting your blood moving and working out all the kinks. Next are your arms. Warming them up to throw punches usually just requires a few light movements to let them know that it's time to go to work. Throwing a few light punches, simulating the techniques you're about to perform, is also a good way to warm up. From there, move down to your hips. Hip circles and a few slow side bends will really get your blood going, and loosening up this area is great for pivoting at the waist and helps to maintain balance. Warming up your knees for kicking is extremely important. A few light circles and a little stretching of the leg muscles will usually be sufficient. Only you know to what extent your fight scene will be, and you should warm up accordingly. And last but not least, it's imperative that you warm up and lightly stretch your ankle joints. A good stunt performer knows that even the slightest injury could result in his or her not working the next day. Remember, safety first. Warm up.
Okay, we're all warmed up. Let's get to that first technique. The first technique we're going to cover is the cross punch. This punch, or a variation of it, is probably the most used punch in the television and film industry today because it's relatively easy to throw and creates a great illusion of power.
To begin with, all the techniques demonstrated in hits and misses will be done from a three-point stance, similar to the way a boxer might stand. Keeping your balance on the balls of your feet, move your hips around side to side and back and forth. Neither you or your partner want to lose your balance and fall into an oncoming punch or kick. Facing your partner at arm's length, make a fist in front of his face. This 4 to 6 inch distance becomes your safety margin. Then stepping back into your stance, draw your arm up and back, bent at the elbow. As you punch, straighten your arm out beside you at a 90-degree angle and then continue this outstretched swing right past your partner's eyes, following through. From this angle, the punch is obviously a miss. But when I place Neil on an angle such as this, the punch is obviously a hit. Up, out, and around in a wide looping circle, right past your partner's eyes. And you really needn't punch any faster than I am right here. From this angle, notice how I pivot my feet and hips. As well, notice how I throw my opposite hand up and back. All this is to enhance the illusion of power.
Now that's the cross punch. The next punch we're going to cover is the over the shoulder. Unlike a cross punch, the over-the-shoulder travels in a straight line and involves a little shuffle of the feet.
The reason for the shuffle to the side is so that the center of your body lines up directly in front of your partner's shoulder, ensuring a good safe distance from the side of your partner's head. To do the shuffle, start in your three-point stance. Shuffle your rear foot behind your front foot, then step your front foot to the side so that you're once again in a perfect three-point stance. As I shuffle to my left, I throw a straight right over Blair's shoulder beside his head. From this angle, the punch is a hit, but again, it's only an illusion. This technique is going to take a little practice, but have fun with it. You see, I'm actually missing Blair by about 4 to 6 inches. Only when he throws his head around in a tight little circle will the punch register as a hit. Here I'm shuffling to both sides, throwing a combination of lefts and rights. But note that I don't throw my punch until Blair and I make eye contact. It's very important to know when your partner is ready. And while you're rehearsing the punches, this is a good time for your camera people to be going around and rehearsing their angles as well. So a quick review. Three-point stance, shuffle, punch. You can see how my body lines up with Blair's shoulder, creating a good safe distance, punching right past his eyes.
And there you have your over-the-shoulder shot. You know, the cross punch and the over-the-shoulder sure look great, but nothing takes the wind out of your opponent's sails like a good hard shot to the gut. So let's demonstrate this thing.
Similar to the way you would pitch a softball, lift your punching arm up and back, then swing it down in a long looping circle to strike your opponent's stomach. And notice that my fist is held very loosely. As well, a stomach punch can be shot from just about any angle because you're actually making contact with your partner's stomach. Very lightly, of course. Remember, even the slightest injury to yourself or your partner could result in your production being put on hold. Practice, get good, and do it right. Lifting your punches high before throwing them gives your audience time to realize a punch is coming. And throwing your opposite arm up and back lets your audience know just how powerful you really are.
Maybe we should have done this before lunch. Even in the movies, you can only take so many punches. Eventually, you're going to want to stop it. And the best way to stop it is with a high outside block. Very James Bondish.
There are two parts to this block. First, I place Rhonda's blocking arm where I want it to go, and have her rehearse it, lifting it into place a few times to help get her set. Now I show Rhonda exactly where I'm going to punch, and although it starts out looking like a cross punch, I stop it exactly where her arm will meet my arm. Banging arms together, take after take, can result in some painful bruising. So blocking even the most powerful punch, although appearing real, is only an illusion.
And that, my friends, is the way to block.
Okay, so we've wrapped with all the punches. Let's move on to something a little more exciting. Let's throw some kicks. And And the first kick we're going to throw is the crescent kick.
Protective padding is discussed in greater detail in Backyard Stunting 2, Falling for Effect. But here Blair dons a wrist pad for taking a light kick to the wrist. Notice that he throws his own arm out and away. That's his half of this stunt. No one should be kicking anyone's arm with sufficient force to send it flying. A crescent kick is a wide looping kick that, like the wide looping punches, gives your audience time to register what's happening. Lifting your knee, you extend your leg and swing it from the inside out, lightly striking your partner's pad with the outside edge of your foot. Make sure that your base leg, the leg that you're standing on, is bent slightly for balance. Throwing a crescent kick to your partner's head requires that you lift your knee even higher. And like the cross punch, your foot should cross past your partner at eye level, at least 6 inches away. From this angle, you can see that my kicking foot passes Blair's face by no less than 1 foot. And that's okay. Shot from the correct angle, the camera's two-dimensional eye can't even see it. As you can see, even kicking a foot away from your partner using these next 2 angles, the crescent kick registers as a dynamic hit. And you needn't kick very fast. Just a nice, easy pace will do. You really do want your kick to register with your audience.
So that's a crescent kick. And you can see with a combination of punches and kicking how exciting things can get. The next kick we're going to demonstrate is the front kick. We're going to do it 3 ways. Once to the stomach in a standing position, and once to the stomach, and once to the head, when he's on all 4s.
To execute a front kick properly, remember that where you point your knee, your foot will go. And strike only with the ball or the flat of the bottom of your foot. Just in case you make contact, you don't want to be using your toes or heel. And again, you can kick as far away as a foot or more from your partner's stomach. On the correct angle, it will still register as a hit. Give yourself some distance. Better safe than sorry. Good stunt performers create illusion. They do not beat up on their friends. You can see that from this angle, the kick is obviously a miss. But on an angle such as this, the kick is obviously a hit. This kick, like all the techniques demonstrated in hits and misses, is going to require some practice on your part. Go about it slowly at first. Know the length of your leg. Only then will you be ready to perform it with a partner. As well, when you're finally ready to work with your partner, work out each technique together. Get in sync with each other so that your partner won't inadvertently step into an oncoming kick. Now let's say that in the fight that you create, your partner has been knocked to his hands and knees or is just getting up. A front kick to his side, flipping him over, is a great finishing move. Notice that I hop in just before throwing the kick with my rear leg. This hop is used to enhance the illusion of the power being thrown into my partner's side. Note that I'm using the flat of where my lower shin and upper instep meet, basically the top of my ankle joint as my striking weapon. Pointing your toes down will prevent any accidental poke to your partner's ribs. As well, Neil is wearing a thin but very protective padding under his shirt. I'm making only very light contact with Neil, but being a good stunt performer, he always keeps safety first in mind and puts in a pad just in case. Here, Neil's not ready, and I won't move into the kick until we make eye contact. With my part of hopping in and kicking, combined with Neil's part of taking the kick and flipping over, the stunt comes together. And take special note how Neil prevents his head from making contact with the surface by keeping his chin tucked into his chest. As well, when rehearsing your backyard stunts, I recommend using a 2-inch tumbling mat like the one we're using here. If you don't happen to have one, don't be shy about approaching your local YMCA, a school, or a gymnastics club for help. Either way, please be careful in choosing the type of surface you will be working on. Remember, safety first. Another great finishing move is to throw your kick at your partner's head, flipping him up and over onto his back. First comes the eye contact, Then comes the kick, 8 to 12 inches away from your partner's head, throwing your foot nice and high on the follow-through. By now, you've no doubt caught on to the fact that camera angles are very important to the performance of any stunt, and that rehearsing your techniques, either by themselves or in combination, is just as necessary prior to going to camera. A few more rehearsals for timing between Neil and I, on an angle that doesn't sell very well. Then, on an angle that does.
And don't forget to make an ugly face to enhance the energy of the kick. Sometimes you might find yourself a little too close to continue kicking and punching. So let's try some knee strikes.
As I face Blair, I show him just where my knee will go. But as you can see, I'm not really using my knee to strike with, but rather the flat part of my lower thigh. And again, I'm making very light, if any, contact at all. Notice that I'm not only stepping in again, I'm taking a hold of Blair's shoulders. My stepping in and grabbing Blair creates the illusion that I'm pulling him into the strike, when in fact I'm doing nothing of the kind. The knee strike to the head requires that your partner bend over on his own to make it look like you've taken a hold of his head. Your one hand, the one furthest from the camera, will be held out and away from your partner's head as mine is. You will then be very careful to thrust your knee up and through your own wrist. If your partner times his reaction correctly, this technique creates a devastating illusion.
So there's a couple of moves that'll wake your audience up. There are two parts to every exchange in a fight scene, from the person throwing the punch to the person taking the hit. Action. So you can see that the energy transfers from the person throwing the punch to the person taking the hit. And it's that person's acting ability that carries the stunt over. Oh! Oh! Why does she keep doing that? Oh! And that's Backyard Stunting's Hits and Misses. We all hope you've had just as much fun watching it as we've had putting it together. And remember, safety first.
Hey, want to see how I get out of this one? Watch Backyard Stunting 2, Falling for Effect.